One of the joys of fishing is finding new places to fish. A lot more anglers are using smaller craft like kayaks these days to fish less accessible water. Conveniently portable GPS units, such as the Magellan Explorer 710, have touchscreen capabilities that make them a handy tool for anglers that want to leave the beaten track. The floods in Brisbane certainly changed the local landscape, but one big positive which came out of those floods was the stocking of the Brisbane River, Jace.
That's exactly right, Nige. Like big, fully grown fish straight into the river. Just here for the catching, basically. And it's not just the Brisbane River, but it's rivers all over the place that have got these fish in them now.
And for anglers that want to explore a bit now, I guess it's made a few of us not just head up to the local dams to catch fish. It means we actually get out now and check out some of our wild river scenery because there's a lot of fish in them. And the benefit of getting out doing some research, using a tool like the Magellan GPS to get out on our back tracks, pick some spots, makes it worthwhile.
That's right. Fishing actually starts at home for me. I'll actually sit down in front of the computer and I'll look at things like Google Earth or Google Maps and I'll check out my location that I want to go, get those coordinates and you just punch it into something like that. And that's what's brought us here. We're about to hit the good water now.
Oh, we're on. I'm getting towed. Oh. How good's that?
Didn't take long.
No. I was just getting into that mode of being quite relaxed.
We're aiming at a fish around that 50 centimetre size today, Nige.
Okay, so Jason set the challenge. We want a 50. He's probably about a 35, mate.
That's it. That's the trophy fish. It's a nice start.
I'm fishing with one of the icons of the Aussie bass fishing scene today, Jason Ehrlich, and he's talking about trophy fish already. Something pretty special about getting out in a small vessel like a kayak and exploring new waters and having the chance to fish for one of our prized Aussie sport fish and see him swim back, fight again another day. How good's that? Crack back in and get another one. Just trolling up the middle of the Brisbane River at the moment. It's a pretty simple little approach. I've got a nice little consistent walk speed on the yak at the moment. I'm obviously helped out because I've got a little electric motor on the back because I'm a bit lazy today. The outfit's a 3 to 5 kilo Berkeley bait cast rod. I'm fishing with a 10-pound braid and 2 metres a leader. Now the key thing here is I'm getting a lure which is getting me down to the bottom. So I've got a 90mm Scorpion, it's a Halco lure, and it's got a bib on it which tells me it's diving to the 3 metre range. And what I want to be doing when I'm trolling is consistently bumping structure, so bottom or timber occasionally, and that means that I'm in that zone where I've got the most chance of a fish seeing that lure and taking offence to it and having a bit of a lash out at it, which is exactly what we want. We want them, regardless of whether they want to eat it for hunger or just to get it out of their spot, we just want them coming out to belt this lure. So you've got to get it down there vibrating in their face. If you can do that, it shouldn't take too long before you get attention from local fish. That has crunched it.
Screamed off, didn't it?
Oh, did you see the yak stop?
Yeah.
Got the stage where Jace knows when I've got a fish because my yak suddenly stops and changes direction quickly.
It sort of amplifies the sound of the braid just screaming off your reel. Just,
yeah.
It sounds neat.
It's good adrenaline stuff. Nice. Powerful fish. There's a nice fish. Oh yeah. Oh, nice fish. Bit of weight about that one, Jace.
Nice fish, Nige.
Yeah, that's a cracker.
Is it bigger than the last one?
Yeah, definitely. This is what you can expect. You get into some of the areas of the Brisbane River. There's a prolific little population of bass that makes some great sport for anglers that want to explore and see what the country has to offer. Get this lure out of this guy.
Nige has just caught a fish and I've just marked some massive arches on the sounder, so I've dropped a little blade straight down there. And there we go. If you get to those fish, as soon as they school up, quite often they'll just crunch it. And that's exactly what that fish did. Oh, it's going nuts. Quite often the fish will just come to you, and they are. There's about 4 or 5 fish on the sounder there underneath me right now. And I dropped a little 46mm big eye blade down there and just got creamed before it even almost got to the bottom. There's a couple nice Aussie bass, isn't it?
That's it, mate. And
2 different techniques too.
absolutely, you're pretty tuned into it, and I guess that's the benefit of the amount of time you get to spend on the water. For those of you who aren't familiar with Jace, you would have, if you haven't, he shows up on shows like the Australian Fishing Championships. You're one of our more prolific freshwater journos, and this is pretty much what you do in every spare minute of time you get is you're out here chasing fish like these. So it's the benefit of being out here, mate.
It's a good fun way to catch fish, isn't it?
Let that guy go.
Let's get those hooks out of you, little buddy.
Not a bad little technique, troll them. When you do hook one, there's a fair chance there's a group of fish there.
Sometimes the fish just find you, and it happens the same in boats as well as kayaks. The fish actually come and sit right underneath you, so that's what I did there. I saw the fish come to me, and if you can get to them straight away, quite often, they smash it. It actually ate my blade and swam towards me. Oh, it's on the other side of the yak. Just kick those pedals up. Don't know how big it is. It's not a bad fish. They're all around that same size, high 30s, 40 centimetres. It's a nice fish. Oh, check that out. That's a great fish, that one. It's actually a long, skinny fish, so I called it for a 40 at first, but it's probably around about 47 to the fork. It's a nice bass. Hasn't got a lot of condition to it for this time of year, but still, it was good fun.
While Jace was mucking around there with his fish, I thought I'll just do exactly what he's been doing and chuck a little blade around. I've actually gone to one of Berkeley's soft lipless crankbaits, a couple of hops, and crunch. These fish, they are that powerful. You actually see this yak moving around at the moment. I've got no power in being put into this at the moment. These are good fish. This fish has towed me a good 15, 20 metres already. So if you've got any question about the power of the bass, he's towing a weedy 75 kilo angler and a 30 kilo Viking yak with him at the moment. Nice. How good's that? Well, you called it Mr. Ehrlich. While you sit around waiting, they sometimes come to you. Just to give you an idea of the lures that these things are eating at the moment, this is what we call the lipless style lures. So Jace has got a blade, which is a metal lure, obviously sinks, and then when you lift it, it vibrates. The beauty of the soft ones too is that when they bite it, it feels a lot more like a bait fish. I'll let Jace show you, I'll let him brag to you about how big his fish is.
It's right on the 50 mark. There's 50 right there, and it's right on at night. So we have got a 50 centimetre bass. I'm going to get him back in the water quick because he's been out for a little while there on the mat. He's fresh as, away he goes. A good method, Nige, too, with these fish that are suspending. There's not too many there at the moment, but it's the dead stick. So hold that lure just a few inches off the bottom if that's where the fish are.
Yep.
Just keep it dead still like that, and they'll actually come up, and as they hit it, they turn on it and hook themselves really well if it's just sitting just off the bottom, not moving. That's how a lot of my fish have been caught so far. It's almost like we're fishing with bait, Nigel, isn't it? You wouldn't think that we're fishing with lures.
Well, and that those little subtle taps can turn into big chunky bass like that. I mean, this is very much a winter technique for you too, but you'll get them into early spring and into summer when they're still in that school mode.
At any time when they school up under the boat, or if they're already hanging in tight schools, there you go, Nige, you're away. And what we find too is sometimes when you don't have many on the sounder and you hook a fish like you just have done, the sounder screen can absolutely light up. Like the rest get excited and they come over and get really close. It's a golden. It's a golden perch. How good is that?
It's all happening.
You got your net ready? You're right. So it's not just the bass that have escaped the dams, it's also the goldens, the tilapias, it's everything. We're getting a good mix today of species.
When a golden perch likes a lure, that's often where they end up, well and truly inhaled. That's a beautifully conditioned yellow belly. Another one of our native species. Obviously a fair few of them in the Brisbane River. Now a lot of these fish, Jace would have come out of the the Brisbane or the Wivenhoe Dam when it flooded. It's really stocked the Brisbane River pretty well with a lot of the fish which have been put in the dam.
You know, you use those resources, GPSs and Google Maps, Google Earth, just to plot your path in, and you'll get into some great water that rarely gets fished. You won't see too many boats roaring up and down this stretch of river.
I mean, this trip stemmed a lot from that frenzied fishing of the barramundi which fell out of Lake Awunga and places like that, where a lot of anglers got stuck into them, where Jace is pretty quick on the uptake. He goes, hang on, well, if that's happened up there, there's going to be a lot of bass and other stuff sitting around my local rivers. And a couple of trips, and a trip like this one is showing that that's well and truly the case. And if you are prepared to explore, and the beauty of fishing with yaks is you can get in just about anywhere. If you do your homework well, and use your tools to good advantage, put yourself in with a chance of catching some great fish.
Yep. Gotcha. It's a cracking fish. It absolutely nailed that. The fishing's gone a little bit tougher, a little change has moved through, which we expected. So things are tougher, but we've changed technique, gone to the Cultiva mirror vibe, slowed it right down, hopping retrieve, and these fish are actually picking the lure up off the bottom at times. That's a nice, healthy fish.
Yep. Oh, how good was that? Yeah. That's awesome. That lure just got to the bottom. One little hop and clunk. The retrieve when you're fishing these sinking lipless crankbaits is pretty easy. You just cast it out to where you think the fish are going to be. Keep your line tight. The moment that line goes slack, it means the lure's on the bottom. Give it a little hop, and then you slowly can work it back to you like that. And then usually halfway back, Jason and I are slowly rolling it, or just consistently slowly retrieving that lure back to us, and starting the whole thing again. Seems to be working. Oh, they're awesome, those head shakes. This is not a bad fish, I think. The kayak's going to follow him, so. Nice fish. There we go. Oh, bit of weight about him. It's well and truly scoffed that little mirror vibe. It's a very effective lure choice to fishing a variety of structure, because you can get down deep, you can slow roll them in the shallows. They're really versatile. I think that's why so many bass anglers carry these style of lures in their box these days. You can fish just about anything that's thrown at you. A beautiful Brisbane River bass. Hard to believe it's not that far from one of our major capital cities. Shows you with living in the city with just a little bit of exploring in your back door, you can find some fishing like this. Let's get him back. One thing which has really helped us catch some fish today, because we're finding fish in concentrations or schools up and down the river in certain holes, is to keep track of where we've been, and to have something as portable and easy to use as the Magellan has really helped out to produce track lines, productive track lines. So whenever we get a trolling line which has caught some fish, I'm saving that track to show exactly where we've been so we can keep returning to it. Another thing we've done is where we picked up bigger fish, we've also put waypoints into the GPS, and that just allows us to build a bit of a picture through a day of exactly where we're catching the main fish and spend our time fishing there rather than water that mightn't hold the fish. So it's a bit of an efficiency tool, but having it on board certainly helped today, and at the end of it, I just put it back in my car and it helps me get home. Jason and I have been paddling around in two different kayaks today. He's been in the Hobie Pro Angler, and I've been in the Viking Tempo range, which is one of their really popular fishing kayaks. I'll give you a quick rundown on this one while it's up on the deck. Right at the front, we've got this nice thermo layering, which covers our front hatch, which means if you do want to keep a fish for a feed, you've got some place to keep it nice and cool and out of the sun. We've got a really comfortable seating area, so nice foot supports and a really easily detachable seat. So plenty of room for the angler there, and plenty of room to store your tackle, plenty of tie downs. We've got rod holders, so you can comfortably fish with your two rods. Moving to the back, we've got storage containers at the back, nicely hatched to keep stuff out of the weather. And in the back, we've got a big rear well where we can store things like a house battery to run your 28-pound Minn Kota, as well as plenty of other room to put your fishing storage bag. On top of it all, you've got a really nice kayak, easy to store, easy to transport. And it's a really inexpensive way to get out to some of these places which are hard for the boaties to get to.
It's Bill Klassen here from The Fishing Show, and if you like this instructional video and want to learn more, it's simple. Go to fishingshowtv.com.au and see a whole host of additional videos.